if guidance is always available to us, but we've just forgotten how to tap into it, or how to even recognize it? I'm Antoinette, and this is Sharing Success, this show where we discuss success from the inside out. And today I'm joined by Laurie Parente, intuitive guide, angel medium, and energy healer. And we are talking about exactly that guidance, whether that is from your inner guidance, your intuition, angel guides, spirit guides, or loved ones in spirit. Let's get into it. So, hi, Laurie. Thank you so much for joining Sharing Success and for joining me.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here. Wonderful. I'm excited.
I love it. I love it. So, obviously, you are highly intuitive, fourth generation intuitive, which is amazing. And so, you're working with people on a really, really deep level. So, really excited to talk about identity shifts when people are coming to you. And we'll get into kind of why and when people do come to you and how you work with them. But there's that piece around identity shifts, identity collapse, even. And then kind of reconnecting with themselves. There's always a time when lots of us feel like we've lost touch with, well, who we even are, and how do we kind of find our way back to that? You call it finding your way back to your soul essence, don't you?
Yeah. And it's so interesting because throughout my work, this has just come to me, maybe in the last year. I look at all my clients and I see what's coming through. What are the major themes? And I
Mm,
thought, everyone is in transition.
yes.
They've somehow either something major has happened, they've experienced a death or a loss of a relationship or a loss of a job. They're looking at their lives going, who am I now
Mm,
without this relationship? Or or it's very subtle and it's kind of always somewhere in between, like that. It'll just be like, I don't feel right in my skin anymore. I don't feel, things feel off. I feel like I'm in between realities, like something's ending and the new hasn't quite come yet, and they just feel confused and lost and maybe a little bit stuck.
mm,
And they've got, maybe some things in their past that are projecting into the future that are keeping them feeling small or unworthy. And I just noticed this trend like in the last year where I thought people are really transitioning, and I started to think about transitioning in who they are, what they
mm,
believe, how they think, how they act. Like it feels so big. I had
yeah.
someone message me the other day and she said, I feel like I'm between realities, like I'm in some kind of weird vortex. And
Yes.
it's so common, especially for women.
Gosh. So
Yeah.
when are people coming to you then? I know you've mentioned a few things like they're feeling like they don't know who they are anymore. They're kind of in between. They're in this in between phase. So
Right.
how do we know that it's kind of like, okay, we need to probably do something about this, and it's not just a phase that's going to go away or resolve itself, and perhaps not kind of leave things to fester for too long.
Well, I think it's a real shift in perhaps, it was so much more prevalent before COVID, was to the external world to fix you, to inform you, to tell you what you need to do or who you need to be. And then we all became quiet and we all started this, is this my life? Like, how many years have I got left? And is this what I want? And then I find that women, especially when they're in that in between phase, they want to rush it. They want to fix it. They want somebody to come along and wave a magic wand and say, oh, you just need this and then you'll be better. And if you look at the algorithm on some of the popular social media, it's all about fixing you.
Yes.
Do this and you'll feel better. Do this and you'll be fixed. And it's taking that pause, it's taking that time and thinking, actually, what if I know what's best for me?
Mm,
And what if I can work with someone so that I can learn to hear that inner voice and I can hear what my life wants from me and who I came here to be.
mm.
I always say it's about tuning into that soul essence and finding that voice that lives in all of us that will give us that guidance. Why am I here? What's the point of all of this?
So true and so important. So,
Hmm.
in terms of the things that block us, then, because clearly there's something that we're not quite grasping. What is it that we're not, most of us misunderstand about hearing yourself and connecting to that inner soul essence, as you call it, and how can we start to
Mm.
properly hear ourselves more?
I think, it's about unwinding for me. It's about gently unwinding. We've had a lot of conditioning, whether
Mm.
it's through religious conditioning or whether we're holding some trauma, which we all are to some degree, whether we've got emotions that are stuck or beliefs that are someone else's that were just handed to us. When we look at it, do I really believe that, or did someone just tell me to believe that? And so it's really unwinding. So when I work with people in my one-to-one program, that's the first part of it. We spend time unwinding this lifetime so that we can get to that kernel, that truth of who you are. And once we let go of the stories and the beliefs and um, it comes from all forms of society. We've really been taught you need to be this way and then you'll be happy. And now I think it's almost like this rebellion. Like that doesn't make me happy.
Mm.
So how do I find that inner joy? So for me, it's all about releasing who we were taught to be or what life taught us to be. I have people message me and they'll say, this is going to take 2 years to unlearn everything. But when we work with things energetically, we're able to go in through what I call the golden line of truth,
Mhm.
and we're able to just release along the timeline. And so
Mhm.
it can, when you're ready and when you trust it, it can happen quite quickly. And I think that's the part that maybe scares people that, they've done traditional talk therapy, which is wonderful to be able to talk to someone who's and talk things out. And they think it's going to take years to do this once they start really looking at their lives. But we can unwind that very quickly when it's ready to go.
So, how
Right.
are you working with people? Also, what other misconceptions or areas about your work and how you work with people that you tend to find people don't necessarily know or understand, or might have blocked people from maybe coming to you sooner?
Because I work with people one to one,
Mm.
it's always about who they are, but a lot of it is unworthiness. A lot of it is something that has happened to keep us small, to keep us in a box, to keep a label on us, an identity on us. And we just maybe don't have that courage, that heart knowing that we can do this. So I find a lot of times people will say, but I just don't have that within me to do this work.
Mm.
And I will say, everyone has it within them to do this work. And actually, that's why you're here, is to find out who you are. So it's very individual. So it's hard to come up with a, one size fits all. But unworthiness, shame, um, feelings of, the not enoughs,
Mm.
not good enough, not strong enough, not pretty enough, not smart enough. All of those always come into play when people are considering this possibility of really reaching into who they are.
And do you find that because of the fact that people are coming to you at that point of identity shift, whether it's a major life transition, something's happened, a loss of an identity that they were so attached to, or a loss or something else, do you find that that's when people start to realize that they've got these not underlying traumas or beliefs or things that have been holding them back that they perhaps weren't even aware of? Do you find that actually people weren't necessarily even aware that they had those things, just out of interest?
Some people will be aware of a little bit of it.
Mm.
Most people, I would say, are not. It's
Right.
gone into the subconscious. Um, and once we start to unravel it, they will be, oh my gosh, I haven't thought about that since I was, 10 years old.
Yes.
Well, that's because at 10 years old, your nervous system wasn't able to complete that process
Hmm.
because you just weren't emotionally mature enough. So it just stuck it somewhere. And now you have the emotional maturity to come back and to look at it and to allow it to play out and to release it.
Mm.
So sometimes they'll be aware of things, and other times, because we'll do it through a meditative journey,
Hmm.
they'll be like, oh my gosh, I never even remembered that.
Mm.
And then once it comes up, we can clear it, right?
Yes. You mentioned about the energetic piece and the fact that this is how you're working with people. Can you explain a little bit more about what that involves, the kind of and how that looks from a practical perspective? I know you've touched on the meditation piece, how that looks to work energetically rather than through the talk piece that people might be more aware of.
Mhm. So my guides gave me an image this morning because I was asking them, how does this really work? And
Mm,
so they showed me, so myself and then the client and this energy coming from both of us and going through my client's guides, going through my guides. And it's like this energetic feedback kind of loop.
mm,
So it's, I'm not aware of what the client's gone through, but their guides are letting my guides know, and then it's coming through me.
mm,
And so I'm bringing it up, and then they're able to find it.
mm,
So it's definitely um, using my psychic senses to help them find. And they'll say, "How did you know that?" Or "How did you saw exactly what happened?" And I said, "I'm not particularly me, Laurie, seeing it. It's being channeled to me."
right.
Does that make sense?
It does. No, it does. Definitely. It makes sense to me because because
Yeah.
I've been getting deep into this kind of exploration of these topics myself. So it's definitely very
Right.
interesting. And we can talk more a little bit about that connection with your guides, and is that something that others can access, or how does that work as the conversation goes on? In terms of the
Mhm.
disconnection to ourselves, then how does that um, show up, and what can we start to do in order to start trusting ourselves? Because I feel like when we've been disconnected for such a long time, it's like you're in no man's land. So, and then also, if you're disconnected to yourself and you've also gone through an identity shifting situation,
Mhm.
how are you even reconnecting?
Right.
How do we start?
And you're holding trauma, and you're holding
Yeah.
generational things, and lineage things, and there's all this stuff. So um it's about connecting to the heart, and it can be as simple as, I know what my head is saying about this,
Mm-hmm.
and then just feeling your energy dropping into your heart. I like to take my hand and kind of move my energy down.
Mm-hmm.
What does my heart say? Um, but for people who have heart walls, which I'll call, they've built these bricks around their heart
Mm-hmm.
because of certain experiences in life, that sometimes can be a little bit difficult for them. So once I assess where they're at, if they're able to accept to get to their inner voice or not,
Mm-hmm.
we do a practice where we go in through the heart and we start to work with those walls so that we can bring them down enough so that we can start to hear ourselves. Because sometimes I've seen it it's like a tower of bricks and it's closed off.
Mm.
And other people will just have a couple layers of bricks. So it really depends what people have been through, what they're holding. And I've often find that the people who are holding the most of it isn't even theirs.
Right.
They've just taken on, they're, quite empathic, and they don't really know. And they've taken on so much of other people's things and the world's things. And once they see that it's not theirs, it'll just dissolve.
Wow, you said something that I found really fascinating just then, because you mentioned people that are empathic.
Hmm.
And when I think of being empathic, obviously it's that you're very in tune with the energy and the feelings and all of those things of those around you, of your environment, and of all of those pieces. So it seemed interesting that you said that that can actually cause a heart wall
Hmm.
within someone who's empathic. I find that's almost like,
Right.
oh, but I thought that if they're empathic, then they would be completely open, like your heart's just totally open to the point of actually that's probably your challenge. It's the opposite challenge.
Right. So I mean, if they've never been taught, which, I
Mm,
mean, all of this work is really, I mean, it's been around forever, but it's really becoming mainstream more now.
yes.
And if you were never taught as a child, as I was not taught,
Mm,
even though my mom was intuitive, she didn't want that life for me
right.
because some things that she went through. um, and so I took it all on. So even though I could feel and sense everything,
Mm,
I was holding so much that wasn't mine because I wasn't taught how to clear it. I wasn't taught how to discern if it
mm.
was mine or if it was someone else's. And then it just got
Ah,
stuck.
I see what you mean. Yes. It is
Hmm.
that thing. I actually sometimes find myself having to ask, because I get anxiety sometimes, I think. is that me, or is there someone else? Is it the person that
Right.
I'm with? And I'll sometimes say, are you okay? Because I think it might not actually be me. That's the thing. It could be the person that you're
Right.
with, or someone's come into the vicinity that's feeling anxious and all of those things, and you're actually sensing that.
Hmm.
Definitely,
And
definitely.
right now, with everything that's going on in this world,
Mm,
whether we're hooked into it or not, I mean, so many of us don't even hook in at all.
mm,
It's still there in the field, right?
yes.
So one word, one quick look at a magazine, an overheard conversation, and we're hooked back in.
Mm.
And then we leave where we are. Why am I feeling anxious? Oh, I got hooked into what's going on in the collective.
Definitely, definitely. I always say
Hmm.
people, we should be mindful of the things that we're listening to and kind of
Hmm.
watching and listening to and people we're talking to, because it all has an impact, doesn't it? It definitely all impacts us, whether
Yep.
it's kind of mentally or energetically.
What we're taking in with all our senses. Are
Mm,
we looking for the beauty? Are we listening for beauty? Are we smelling beautiful things? Are we surrounding ourselves in our homes? Do they feel like a sanctuary?
mm,
Like, what are we taking in on all levels? And
definitely.
then what thoughts are we having? Because thoughts are things, they're real. And telepathy is really ramping up. Uh, and so if I see someone and I maybe judge their outfit, energetically, they're going to feel that,
Mm,
right? And so my thoughts need to be right away. I use the Hawaiian forgiveness prayer. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, and I
yes.
just delete it right away. Not that it comes up as often as it used to,
Mm,
but we've been trained to judge each other, and judgment just causes such division. When it's discernment for ourselves,
mm,
I think it's absolutely very important. It's just watching those thoughts about others, being
definitely.
careful, because it's like they're floating out there.
Mm.
They're things.
In terms of listening to ourselves, then you said to kind of drop back into the heart, which is really powerful. If you have a noisy mind, or if you're someone who thinks a lot, how can we know that, okay, this is my intuition, my intuitive thought, or my intuitive messaging, versus overthinking
Mm-hmm.
versus fear?
Some very good lived experience in
Mm,
this area because I'm a Gemini, air spirit. I'm up here and I'm a manifesting generator. So I'm go, 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 go. Right. So I was given those challenges so that I could work through them so that I could help other people.
yeah.
Um, for, it's three different things. It's thoughts. Once you become aware of where your energy is in your body, and
Mm,
right now you're thinking, you can feel that your energy is up here. And once you become aware of how to drop it into your heart, you can feel the difference of, now we will call that the heart brain or heart math or intuition. We can feel the difference in the energy. Um, so it's about differentiating between, our thoughts are often looping
mm,
and they're often trying to keep us safe.
mm,
So I like to, is that a thought? Is it a thought I've thought 1,000 times already?
mm,
And then I think, okay, I know what my head says. And I put my hand on my heart and I take a breath. I say, what did my heart say? And I listen to the difference. And what my heart says will make me smile.
mm,
It will be something that my head would never say to me, like, you're doing a good job, keep going, or you need some self-care, or try some more sleep. Like, my head would just never say that. So it's about, I had one client where I said, I want you to write down every intuitive hit you get for the next week until we meet again.
mhm,
And she came back and she said, well, I mean, I wrote it down, but it doesn't, like, it's just like, you're beautiful and you're kind. And, like, it was all this stuff. And she said, I don't, I said, but would you ever say that to yourself? Like, would your head ever say that? And she went, oh my gosh, no, this is my intuitive voice,
mm,
right? So it takes a little bit of time and it can be different depending what you've been through. Um, and then when we add fear,
mm,
fear contracts you. Fear feels small. Fear feels like you get that pit in your stomach, or your heart hurts, or your throat hurts. And just notice, am I feeling contracted? Well, that's fear. And is this fear mine? Is this fear necessary? Is this fear informing me? Because sometimes a fear will come up and you'll kind of, okay, maybe there is something for me here to listen to. So it's about questioning the fear. It's about slowing down long enough to decide, why is this fear here? And does it need to be here? And if it doesn't need to be here, I like to I'm very visual. So I'll just put it on some angel's wings and let it go.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I had a thing of imagining it on a floating leaf and floating off in water or something. But yeah, I love the angel wings.
Perfect.
Definitely.
Right. And
Definitely.
your intuition will feel expansive.
Mm.
It depends how you receive information, because we all have different dominant psychic senses. So whether you're more visual or auditory, or whether you really sense it in your body, but it will feel expansive. You know, we have a situation right now where we have a dear friend who's very ill,
Mm.
and at first my head went, "Oh, this is going to be a long recovery, and the family and all." And then I just dropped in, and I got, you know what? He's going to surprise everyone, and he's going to get better really quickly. And my head wouldn't have come up with that.
Yeah.
My head would be like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be terrible for the family."
Always the kind of the scary path, isn't it? That's the thing with
Right?
the mind. Yeah.
And that's our ego voice that's here to try to keep us safe. It has its place. My one of my favorite teachers, Sonia Choquette, calls the ego voice your barking dog,
Yeah.
and you need to train it.
Yeah.
And once you train it, because our heads were never meant to be in charge,
Mm.
but our
That's it.
hearts are the ones who are the driving force, right? So once we train that ego brain, oh, it's thinking again, and it's going like this. What do I really need? Let's get back into the heart.
So do you have, for people who might be listening, who might be thinking, okay, firstly, I do want to reconnect with myself because I really don't feel like I'm in a good place. So I need some kind of first small steps to start doing to maybe start moving in the right direction, or to just even feel a little bit better on a day-to-day basis. But also, how do I even begin to decipher those things? I know you said about kind of dropping down a chart. It sounds like, is there any kind of practice? How do you practice it? How do you start to practice hearing one from the other, or deciphering this one's the fear and that one's the, do you have to meditate, or are there other things you can do?
Um, so when people will say to me, is it necessary that I meditate in
Mm.
order to be able to hear myself? I say, yeah, it
Right.
is. Um, and many people will say, well, I tried meditating and I just was thinking the whole time and it
Mm.
didn't work for me and I'm never trying it again. And, you know, I think that we have this conception that like we're monks in caves from the 12th century where we can just go om and everything will fall away. And we don't live in that world. We live in a really high paced world where there's information coming at us so quickly. So it's just finding those little moments of quiet. Can you sit, close your eyes, and just breathe and count your breaths to 10?
Mm-hmm.
Can you just give yourself that space? And then the next time, can you try to get to 15, counting your inhale 1 and your exhale? Can you sit in the dark and just try to imagine your thoughts falling away
Mm.
just for a minute? We just need to start somewhere. Can you have a cup of tea and look out the window and daydream like you did when you were a child, and just let those thoughts go? And when they come back, oh, that's a thought. And then just go back to your breath. Can we just slowly, in little micro ways, bring back in practices of being quiet, of being still, of not having some kind of, even music or anything coming at us? And I find once you can just find those micro moments of stillness, then try a guided meditation. There's so many apps. There's everything all over, YouTube, Insight Timer. Just try a 3-minute guided meditation where they take you through some breath work. Just start small. It's like we live in such an instant world that
Yeah.
we just want to be able to sit for an hour and be quiet and ohm it out, right? And we have to take it slowly. And then eventually we start to be able to listen to in the stillness,
Mm.
listen to who we are. But guided meditations, start there if that's what feels right.
And in terms of that, the guided meditation compared to the sitting in the still and with nothing, would you
Mm-hmm.
say that you have to try to work towards the sitting in the still with nothing, or would you say that even if you're able to do just the guided ones, that will still get you to a point where you are able to hear and you are able to kind of
Hmm.
listen to your intuition better?
I I always suggest both.
Mm-hmm.
Just try, find what works for you. Everyone is different. Um, I will go through times where for maybe a month I'm just right in the stillness and it really works. And then something happens and pushes me out and I'll reach for a guided meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, just go with what feels good to you. But start small. Don't pick a 40-minute meditation. Start with 3 minutes.
Meditating regularly, and I got to the point where it was like, okay, I can do 20 to 30 minutes. I'm back to like 3 minutes, like
Mhm.
it's really
And
difficult.
and that has been true for so many with what's going on in the world. As I was
Mm.
saying, that collective is there. Many people will be saying, like, I can't even go in for 2 minutes anymore.
Yeah,
And I say,
I think
so
a lot of us will be, people will be breathing a sigh of relief, because I think we think it has to be like 30 minutes or whatever it might be, but you're saying actually even 1 minute is
1 minute,
still valuable.
right? When I first started, kind of coming back to myself in my early 40s, I took a course from James Van Prague, the medium,
Mm.
and he said, just sit in a closet, just sit somewhere dark and just breathe for a minute. Just start there. And I've always remembered that.
Love that. And now
Hmm.
there's people coming to you, as you mentioned, for mediumship, because you are an intuitive, you've got the connection with the guides, and you're also practicing medium. So,
Hmm.
from a kind of grief perspective and from a healing perspective, what does it look like in terms of that journey? I guess journey back to self and journey of rebuilding um, ourselves after that loss or transition or collapse or whatever it might be.
Right. So it's so important to know, to really lean into the surety that we are eternal beings
Mm.
and that we are here having a human experience and that our loved ones still are still here. They're just on a different level and we can't access them the way we used to,
Mm.
but we can access them again and we can have a relationship with them again. And it's so important to actually continue those relationships because once we do connect with them, the relationship becomes soul to soul, spirit to spirit, and we can learn so much from them. And if you'll indulge me, I can just tell a little bit about my father.
Please do.
In our lifetime, we weren't close. And my mom died in my 20s, and he just kind of took off.
Mm.
And for the last 30 years of his life, there was really no relationship.
Right.
Um, and it just was what it was. And I out all the circumstances that you can imagine, I was the one that ended up being at his bedside as he was passing.
Mm.
And it was such an incredible experience to watch the angels prepare him to cross. He was not a man of faith. He didn't believe in anything. He said, "This is it. When I die, I'm done." And I watched the angels come in and like rewire him. And I sat with him all night and it was just fabulous. And then after he passed, he came to me right away. Um, and then I had to go through a phase where I cleaned up the relationship,
Mm.
like the human to human relationship. I had to go through the forgiveness work. I had to go through the anger. I had to go through all of that. And then about 3 months after he passed, he came to me and he said, "Are you ready? Are you ready to see me now?" And I went, "No, go away. I'm still not
Really?
right." And then about another month later, my mom brought him through and said, "You're ready." And the way that he came through there, I saw myself with him. I was a little girl. The song Dance with Your Father was playing, and I was, dancing on its feet. And ever since that moment, it was like the human relationship just went, it just was done.
Yeah.
And I get the opportunity to connect with him multidimensionally. And so now he comes through as Merlin, he comes through as magic, he comes through as fun. He's the one that I go to when I have, um, the big questions.
Mm.
And so there's such an opportunity that no matter what your relationship was like in life,
Mm.
you can step into a new phase of your relationship with your people.
That's beautiful to hear, and that's amazing, and it really resonates
Mhm.
for me because I had a difficult relationship with my dad as well, and I went to see a medium shortly after he passed, or I say went home, shortly after he went home. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, I went to see a medium a few times, and he didn't come through. And then he did come through. I think it must have been third or fourth time I went to see the medium, and he came. And the medium said to me that he actually had felt bad about coming because the relationship that we'd had was quite challenging, and he felt so bad about it. And it
Mm-hmm.
was so powerful to hear, because I think for me, it was like, when someone goes and you haven't had, as you say, everything hasn't been resolved or whatever, and it kind of, it's left in that way, isn't it? And so to hear
Mm-hmm.
him say that he acknowledged that actually it wasn't necessarily the best relationship, and acknowledging his kind of part in that, it was definitely very powerful. And
Mm-hmm.
exactly as you say, I kind of, those things fell away, and it was like, actually, I'm really
Right.
glad that he came. Definitely.
So it's very healing. And I would
Mm,
say for the first three mediums that you went to, you
yeah,
weren't ready to hear it.
interesting.
Right. And so he came through when you were ready to hear it.
Yeah. And do
Yeah.
you find, are we able to be guided by our past family members or loved ones or whoever they may be?
They become part of our spirit family, our
Mm,
spirit team. You know, they become. We have guides and we have angels and we have our people.
mm,
And absolutely, there was a time not long ago where um, my mom and dad both came through and said, you know, you're doing too much. You preach about being more than doing. Let's, you need to pull back. And then I was able to look at everything and go, okay, yeah, absolutely, they're right. I'm going to switch some things up. And so they do become part of our, and I talk to my parents all the time. I talk to my grandma all the time. I invite my nan. That my nan was very, very open with her gifts, and she would invite her people in for tea.
yeah.
She would put out teacups for them and she would talk to them at her table. And that's what I saw as a little girl, right? So definitely talk to them. They want us to be happy. They want us to live our purpose and live our lives with joy. And they want to help us do that.
I love that. And that is part of that healing journey, isn't it? If you can,
Mhm.
as you're saying, from what you're saying, if you can open yourself up to the potential that is there, it definitely kind
Right.
of gives you a little bit more, um, yeah, it's definitely a bit more soothing, isn't it? For sure.
Yeah. So that's, I mentioned it in the first part of my program, we do all the releasing.
Mm,
And then the second part of my program is about connection.
mm.
Because once we can connect to our team, to our people, it's life changing, right?
Definitely, definitely. Well,
Yeah.
actually, you've given me a wonderful segue, because one of the things that I do get asked a lot is, what if you're not hearing your guides? What if you're not, that you don't feel like they're there, or they're not connecting, or you're trying to do those meditations, or you're asking for the help, or all those things, but there's nothing, you feel like there's nothing going on. What is happening for those of us who maybe have tried sitting in the meditations, have tried tuning in? Is it because we're disconnected, or is something else happening?
Well, I think it goes back to what we were talking about before. It's a worthiness piece,
Mm.
right?
Ooh.
It's who am I to connect?
Mm.
Who am I to have this kind of support? Um, you know, everyone knows that their cousin's best friend's daughter is a medium, but she was born that way. That's not who I am. And we've been taught, because it's a form of control.
Mm.
If we can control people and tell them that they can't connect,
Mm.
um, and they need to go through someone else, which is kind of the tenet of major religions, um, then they don't believe they can,
Mm.
right? And I'm not bashing religion. There's a lot of beautiful things about community in religion, um, but Christ, in his own words, said, I am the truth and the way, I am the light. And he's saying, we have the light within. We are the truth and the way and the light. And if we look at the lost Gospel of Mary Magdalene, it was all about connecting from within
Mm.
to who you are and to source and to your helpers. And that piece got a little bit lost as control
Mm.
became a thing.
And as we do that journey, that inward journey, and we start to reconnect with ourselves, our soul essence, or whatever language one might feel comfortable with, would you say that you will naturally find that you are able to tune in and feel that guidance, or hear that intuition, or hear whatever it is that you need to give you that support?
Take it slow, be gentle with yourself, be
Mm,
kind to yourself, and it will just eventually surprise you. And you'll think, oh, wait, that sounded like my mom. Or, oh, that felt like it came from the depths of my being.
mm.
And just pay attention, slow down, take your time.
I love that. And I know that one of the things people always worry about is how do I know it's me, or my own voice, or my own thoughts, or whatever it might be, compared to, higher self, or guide, or inner self, or whatever it might be. From what you said before, it sounds very much that the kind of information that we're receiving from that part of us, and then us collective, is much more gentle than the information we tend to get from the ego self. Would you say that that's the case, or is there other signs and things to know about?
I think sometimes people get confused because it will sound like your own
Mm,
voice. Like it's, my thoughts sound like that. So is that, but how does it feel?
mm,
That's your barometer. Does it feel expansive? Does it feel supportive? Does it feel interesting? Does it make me curious? Does it make me wonder about it? How does it feel?
mm. Thank
That's
you
your
so
that's
much.
your barometer for sure. You'll there's a saying, you can't heal what you can't feel.
Right.
And so we need to come back into the body to get back into right relationship with all parts of us. And those feelings, there's no good or bad feelings. We've
Mm,
been taught, anger is a bad thing. No, anger actually is a really good fire energy. Not that it's good, it is a fire energy. Um, so they're not good or bad. They're here to inform us.
right.
And emotions naturally run in the body for 90 seconds. So you've got 90 seconds to work with it, to understand it, and to release it, or it's going to get stuck somewhere.
Mm,
So we're all walking around with all this emotional baggage, right? That
gosh.
we hear the psychotherapists talk about, and energetically, it's sticking to us. And that's, once we are aware of it, it's very easy to release.
I love that. What are maybe three key takeaways that you want people to go away with?
Well, I think just that we all have the capacity to
Mm,
tune into who we truly are and why we're here. And it's nothing, it's not a superpower. It's actually a natural thing to do once you start to work with it. And to really start to look past the personality. Let's look past the personality. Let's look past the stories, the beliefs, and get to the real essence of who we are and why we're here.
mm,
Um, and that it doesn't have to be difficult. I think we've lived so long from outside in,
mm.
and now we are feeling this great pull to live from inside out.
Much needed.
Absolutely. It's exactly what's needed right now in this world. Not for just for humans, but for all sentient beings.
And I think you've given us some really good pointers in terms of, you don't have to sit and meditate for an hour or 30 minutes. I'm pleased to hear. It can be 1 minute. So, so I'm doing well with 3 minutes.
Start with the small things as well when you're looking for guidance.
Mm,
Just, um, show me where a good parking spot is,
mm.
or help me decide what to have on this menu. Like, start with small things. We're not starting with, tell me about where my life's going to be 10 years from now. Just today. While I'm going for a walk, should I turn left or right? Like, just small, gentle.
Tell me this. Do our guides get annoyed with us? Because I swear I feel like sometimes I think they must be like, okay, we've had enough. You're driving us crazy. Just
I, I think that's a very human way to think. My guide showed me. So my grandfather used to sit in his rocking chair and twiddle his thumbs all the
right.
time. And they show me, they said there's so many guides and so many angels sitting just twiddling their thumbs because no one's asking them. because my guides are really funny. Most guides are. And they'll say, "Hey, Harry, did anybody ask you today?" And no, Joe, did anybody ask you today? I'm so bored. Um, and they're just waiting. They want nothing more than to help you, and you can't over ask. People will say, "Well, what about my family members? Like, aren't they busy doing other things?"
Yeah.
We don't really have any concept of multidimensionality. I can have a conversation with my mom and then talk to my sister, and she said, "But I was talking to her too." Like, we just don't know how that
I
works.
love that.
So you can't over ask. You can't make them angry. You can't. You're not bugging them. Ask all the time.
Oh yeah, that's a relief to hear, because honestly, I'm like, I have recently got to a point where I'm like, I swear they've packed their bags and they got out of here. They were like, this is too much. I think with the small things, I felt like I got that down. It was like parking spaces, thank you, they're always there. But
Mm-hmm.
it's then I kind of got onto the bigger things, and it's those bigger things, isn't it? And especially when you're asking from a place of, you take kind of listen to how you feel in your body, asking from a place of like, please, I need this to happen, or make this
Right.
happen. I feel like maybe that can block it. That can be a block. That can be an
That's
issue.
that can absolutely be resistance,
Mm,
especially like you thought, what did your body do?
yeah.
It contracted. So um, it's about knowing questions to ask. So just what is my next? This is my goal.
Mm,
What's my next step
mm,
towards it?
yeah.
And if you get an answer that you go, what? Follow that anyways.
That, you know what? That's so true, though, isn't it? Because there's one thing
Mhm.
to ask, but sometimes you get kind of the information or guidance that you're like, that's scary. I don't want to do
Right.
that, or that doesn't make any sense. And it's the trusting piece. How do we
It's the trust.
trust?
Well, we have free will. We don't have to follow the guidance.
Mm,
That's up to us. And if something feels scary, we can say, you know what, that feels scary to me. Is there a smaller step I can take? Is there another step that I could take that would feel um, less frightening to me?
mm.
Like it's like if you're talking to your best friend and they say, well, you should, and you go, okay, well, that's like way out there. What about like what do they're your best friends. Talk to them like you would anyone.
I love it. Thank you so much. It's been such an exciting and interesting conversation. I think that for all of us, I think we're always looking, if there's anything that can make our lives a little bit easier, and particularly if we are going through a shift in identity collapse or identity shift, or life is not what we thought it was going to be, and we're in between places, hopefully this has helped some of us to feel like, okay, there is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, and there's at least a little bit of a place that we can start from. Or get in contact with Laurie. So, how do we get in contact with you, and how are people working with you?
I offer every Thursday morning.
Mm-hmm.
It's at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. I'm in Canada. I offer a 30-minute intuitive talk and guided meditation. So it's a really good place to start. I do offer like the first month at a discounted rate, and you can just also just do a one-off and see how it feels for you. And then I do a one-to-one program. That's a longer 12-week program. And I also just do just regular mediumship and intuitive readings. So everyone, you can find me at laurieparente.com. I'm most active on Instagram at Laurie Parente. Kept it pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
And, reach out to me, message me, and I just love to chat with people.
Fantastic. Yes. Thank you so much, Laurie. I've loved this conversation, and I know that everybody listening has got so much value from it. So truly appreciate it, all your insights.
You're so welcome.